live on this one. Just come over here. I have to do Instagram that way. Give it up. Okay, who's live with us? Who is live? Cecilia, how you doing there? Good night. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. Good night, good night, good night. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Need to hear a little audio. Welcome on into the winning ring. There's a comment section. Good night, everybody. Welcome on aboard. So we're giving the folks a few minutes to pick up the live feed, to respond to the notification, the live notification that Facebook normally sends out. We are streaming live on both Facebook and Instagram. So hopefully a few folks are able to join us tonight. We're excited to be with you. Excited to be here as we talk about what I said is not what I meant. So we're going to find out what's that all about. All right. So if you don't mind, you could share the live feed so some others can log on tonight. Some others can get into the winning ring. All right. Share the live feed for us and let some others get into the ring. All right. So give them a couple minutes to chime in. And how y'all doing? How y'all doing? For those of you who are on, how y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. during this very difficult and unpredictable time that we're in. We trust that you're doing well, you and your family. God is always good all the time. Thank God for His mercies and for being our shelter, our protector, our provider in this time that we're navigating, okay? So, are you ready to share it on the process, please? Seven. Okay. Come on in to the winning ring.
Copy the link and share properly. Since it won't allow me to share.
Come on into the winning ring. Why am I hearing the audio? Totally hear something.
Here. And it's so low, I think, because it's so far over here. Because I mean, I pretty much have it on.
Come on into the winning ring. Yes, and as you come in, please share the link. Please share the live feed so some others can tune in tonight to our session. We believe it's going to be exciting. All right. We are hyped about it. So please share the live feed. Some others can tune in to the live feed, okay? We're still waiting. Some more folks tune in to the winning ring. Good. I see you, Michelle. Good night. Shanika, good night.
Actually, use this to see those things because we need to take, it's distracting. Okay. Hello, we here. Everybody's hearing us and everything is good. The sound is good.
Turn it back down. Stop.
Listen to it in confusion. What I said is not right.
I see.
How you gonna start? You need to just,
Mhm.
you need to start. See what.
Yeah, we're gonna start in like a minute, right? Like 60 seconds. We're gonna go ahead and start. And if you haven't shared the link yet, go ahead and share the live feed so some others can tune in. I mean, wherever they chip in, that they'll just have to go from there. But we know that we have something interesting to talk about tonight, and want as many couples to hear as possible.
I meant
planning to get
exactly
married.
what I said. I meant it, Jack.
So what I said was not what I meant, is what we're going to talk about tonight, and that happens so often in marriage. I can't share my phone on my wall because I don't have my phone. Last time I got a couple of viewers from my wall. All right. Well,
Hit the like button, the love button. Let us know that you're here, so we can see who is here, who's on the live, or comment, something, so we know that you're here,
so that we know that you're in the place,
that you're in the ring.
right? You are in the ring, the
Yes.
ring-a-ding. So show some life out there. Make sure that, let us know that you're alive, in the ring, and still kicking.
It's not changing here.
Mhm.
I'm saying it's not changing here.
Other hands. All right, let's get started.
Did it change over here? Can't really tell.
Okay, I see Karen on Instagram. Waving back at you, Karen. And I take it that you can hear us well. Just say yay if you can hear us.
I think you should bring it over, so we don't have to be just paying attention this way and then.
Let's see.
Instead of going up the way people think we're taking too long.
Okay, we're going to get started, everyone. Tonight we want to welcome you again to another live session of Winning Ring, where we are winning together in the ring of married life as couples. We're winning together at marriage, and that's what Winning Ring is all about. Couples winning together. We're in the ring not to fight each other, but to fight together. All right. So tonight, we have been doing these live sessions, and tonight we want to talk about what I said was not what I meant, and let's just pull out a few points of discussion on that topic, because I believe that we believe that that happens very frequently in a marriage relationship, right? So, so we're going to get started and talk a little bit about what I said was not what I meant, or did you mean it? But anyways, so let's talk about that a little bit. Again, we're live streaming on Facebook and Instagram, have another issue. And one more time, if you haven't shared the link yet, go ahead and share that so someone else can tune in, all right? Okay. Got it? All right. What I said is not what I meant, and as I said that I believe that that is a statement that is very common in relationships, right? And primarily we're talking about marriage relationship. And in starting off, I just wanna make it clear what communication is, right? Communication is said to be sending a message between the art of sending a message between a sender and a receiver, right? So it's the art of sending and receiving a message, rather. So good communication, because we know that there are a whole lot of different types of communications out there. Some good, some not too good, and some very poor. But good communication is the art of sending and receiving a message. And marriage is really based on communication. It's one of the fundamental principles of marriage, one of the vital components and ingredients to make a good marriage, right? Communication. But many times you and I know that, even among the best of couples, there will be times, right? There will be times when some things that are said is not received well, or it wasn't sent well. Some messages that are sent by the sender wasn't really sent well, or it wasn't received well by the receiver, right? So, so that's kind of what we want to talk about tonight. What I said is not what I meant. Anybody can, before we even dive into a few points that I want to share tonight for this live session, anyone can just, does that register with anyone? Like, does that register with anyone that, yeah, been there, it happens? Let me just see like something on the screen, like a yes on the screen, like, yep, it happened, been there, whatever. Where something that, a message that you sent as a sender was not really received as you intended for it to receive, or the way you intended for it to be received by the receiver, which would be your spouse, right? Anyone been there? Yep. What the yeah, I think we all have been there. It happens to
A lot of times.
the best of us. Yep.
Times and times again.
And most times it's not intentional. Most times it's not intentional. It's not like it's planned. Although sometimes it could be. sometimes it could
Getting
be.
back at you.
Sometimes it could be planned. Sometimes it could be intentional. Like, yeah, okay. But y'all are so quiet. I mean, nobody got that. Never happened in your relationship.
I I think it takes a while for, I don't know.
Or is it just delayed? Is your response just delayed? Oh, okay, I saw that. Andrew said yep. All right. Okay. All right. So we laid out what good communication is: the art of sending and receiving a message between a sender and a receiver. You want to dive in there?
Keep going.
All right. So it is so critical that the sender communicates clearly the message that they're sending, right? And it will also now be the responsibility of the receiver to understand or try to understand what this message is that is coming their way. And with an open mind, may I add, with an open mind. If we have a closed mind in a marriage relationship, then, it will cause us to kind of be biased in how we filter certain messages, right? So, we have to have an open mind in our relationship when it comes on to communication, so that we can filter unbiasedly the message that is coming our direction,
Yes.
right? Also, where misunderstanding comes in, misunderstanding comes in where the intent of the message that was being sent by the sender was not interpreted the way that the sender hoped for it to be interpreted. Okay? So there happens to be a disconnect between how the sender wanted the message to be received or perceived, and how the receiver received or interpreted that message. And that's what creates misunderstanding. Misunderstanding just means that we misunderstood the intent of the message, right? So
you can't really control what the receiver, you can't control how they're gonna take the message. So you're not able to control how the receiver is gonna take the message, but you can control how you send the message.
Absolutely.
So that's all in your court, the way you send that message.
That's a very good point. You have no control over how the receiver receives or perceives what the intent of the message is, but you have full control over how you send the message as the sender. All right? It's just like a batsman and a bowler, right? For those of you who know cricket or baseball, the American version, the batsman, he has no control over how the bowler or the pitcher is going to throw that ball, right? Has no control, but he has full control over how he's going to respond to the ball when it comes, when it's released at him or her, right? So each person has their own responsibility in communication, really, right? Here's a very interesting stat. Very interesting stat is, we said that good communication is the art of sending and receiving a message. So there are three entities involved, right? There is the sender, there is the message, and there is the receiver, right? So three entities involved: sender, message, receiver. Sender, message, receiver, right? Now, some interesting stats are communication. These are the experts now. Experts have done their research and their studies and all that stuff, and they have come up with these stats, right? They said that communication is only 7% words. Only 7% words. So So they're saying when we communicate with our spouse or whoever it is, it's only 7% words, right? Not only that, they said it's 35% tone, the tone of our voice. The tone of our voice, right? The tone of our voice. Anyways, so 7% words, communication, they're saying now, these are the experts, they said the communication is 7% words, 35% tone of the voice, right? And the other 58% is our body language. 58, a whole 58% this body takes.
Body
right? So the bulk of the communication they're really saying is made up are comprised of our body language. That would include like our facial expression when we are communicating. Our shrugging of our shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, however we do it with our bodies when we're
showing your fingers and others.
Yeah, the hand movement, the pointing, all that stuff. So that's, so those are some very interesting stats, y'all. Some very interesting stats. So 7% of our communication is words, are words. 35% would be the tone, and 58% would be our body language. So we got to get our body together to line up, right? Because the body is doing most of the communication, like right now. so anyways,
talk to the hands.
Right? So and that happens in marriage, It happens in marriage, and what can create a disconnect is the words can be saying one thing, but then what?
The actions.
The actions, the body language is sending a whole different signal, or the tone, right, is sending a whole different signal.
So then I think the husband should pay more attention to the body language. Sometimes as ladies, we look upset, or our body language is saying something else, and then the husband asks like, are you okay? And so when you say fine, but you look upset, they still say, okay, cool, and walk away.
Peace, you're good, right?
And go do whatever they were doing before.
I shit's on ball with my boys.
So seeing that the body language is 58%, shouldn't they pay more attention, ladies? Shouldn't they pay more attention to our body language then? What the men gotta say?
Amen. That's pretty much what Thelia Thompson is actually saying too.
Oh yeah.
So Caron is saying. So Caron is saying that husbands should be paying more attention to the female's body language. Well, and that is true. That is true, and it also, I would say, goes both ways too, right? Because the husband, we got a body too. I'm just saying, we got a body too.
I just said the ladies because most times that's all it is.
And sometimes our body languages are saying something different just the same, right? But yes, I think it really, you'll find more, the wife that would display certain body languages, even though the words are saying something else. Because most times, as men, we kind of hide our true feelings, right, our emotions. But generally, yes, it would go both ways. And so that's why it is so important for us to pay attention to 58% of the communication is in body language.
Yes.
But don't forget the 35% too is tone, right? Because someone can be saying I love you, but think about this. Saying I love you, yeah, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I love you. You know what I'm saying? We say the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I love you too. You know what I'm saying? But we say the same. We're saying something good, but it is said in a way that kind of is perceived differently by the receiver because of the tone or the words that were chosen or used, or the body language that was displayed in the communication.
True.
So we should have our eyes and our ears wide open when communicating, and that's so because communication is not only the message is not only received by the ears, right? The message is also received by the eyes, and that's so because if the body language is 58%, that means the message is received by the receiver, not only by the ears, but also by the eyes, because we are looking at what is being displayed by the body, how the body is reacting, how the body is being displayed, right? So on the receiver's end, and sometimes when we're talking, we say, "Did you hear what I said?" But not only did they hear, they see, right? Right? So when we say, "Did you hear what I say?" We're not only hearing, we're also seeing the message. Not only hearing the message, but the message can be seen in how it is displayed by the body language, right? All right.
I'm just agreeing to kind of.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's why there can be miscommunication sometimes, and that's why sometimes, as we said, the topic was what I said is not what I meant. We can now see how easily that can happen in a relationship, right? In our communication, that we're saying something, but it is perceived differently than how we intended for it to be perceived, and so it can create misunderstanding, right? It can create misunderstanding. Is that done?
Yeah. Karen said it would be interesting to see how much we can learn to be intentional about our communication and be more direct rather than using body language.
Well, yeah, that would be interesting, Karen. To be and you know what, I think you will find some folks are more direct than others when it comes on. It's a fact that some folks are more direct than others when it comes on to communication, whether where it comes on to communication by words, being direct with their words, than the body language itself. And I think the more conscious we become of it, and the more conscious we become of effective communication, it will help us to become more direct in our communication, which will eliminate, may not eliminate totally, but will reduce the amount of misunderstanding that occurs in that particular relationship.
More communication, sometimes it's more misunderstanding. More misunderstanding with more communication, because it's not like we're not talking. I think a lot of times we are talking, we are communicating. A lot of people said that we don't communicate, or we don't communicate a lot. I think we do. We communicate a whole lot because we're always talking. But the thing is, it's just the interpretation. How is that your partner interpreting what you're saying? And that's where the problem, comes in. Like a lot of times it's just them not understanding, what you're trying to say. And that's where the problem comes in.
I mean, personally, in our marriage, we have had that many times, where something that I said and the way I said it, and then my tone, because you all know I got a deep voice. I'm kidding. But anyways, but whether it's my tone or my expression, my body language, it doesn't really match with what I'm saying, so it comes off or perceived by Tyrone in a different way, and if that is not dealt with, if that is not caught and addressed, then it can create frustration on the receiver's end, right? And I think that we should be sensitive to the receiver's end, because many times in communication we assume that they should know what I meant, right? This assumption, I think there's too much assumption in relationships, in communication, and I know sometimes we can say that, well, we've been living together for many years, and you should know what I meant by that.
You should know that by now.
You should know that by now. And sometimes in many cases that is so, right? But in some cases it may not be so, and so we can't just assume that the receiver or partner should just know and understand, and if they don't understand, then we get mad, right? And if they don't understand, if they don't perceive what we intended the message to be in the way we intended it to be, then we get mad or we get upset about it. But I think the assumption that they should know, and they should know by now what I mean. I think we shouldn't take it for granted that there will be times that, and it could be anything, could just be a bad moment. You know what I'm saying? Why that message was perceived the way it was perceived. Could just be a bad moment, a bad mood, just not an up-to-date day, up-to-date moment. Maybe they're just not flying high in that moment, and so they just didn't perceive the message the way that it was sent or intended to be.
Yeah, Thelia said it's how it's said, and that's so true. A lot of times it's just how it's said, and the thing about it is, when we get into into the height of communicating, we tend to get very anxious, and because we get so anxious, we get really loud, and we also start I don't know for you, but I know I start speeding up the conversation, so the person is already not understanding, and so you're getting frustrated, and because you're getting frustrated, you start talking fast and loud. So now both of you now are talking faster and louder, when we should be doing the opposite. We should actually now, if somebody's not understanding us, we should actually calm down, take a breath, try to explain to the person what we're trying to say. But a lot of times that's not the way it turns out. It's the opposite. We get mad, we start getting loud, and we're just trying to bring our point across, that we are seem at the moment it seems that we're angry, other than anything else. So when we get like that, when our partner is not understanding us, we need to calm down. That's the first thing to do. You have to calm down, and then take a deep breath and try to explain what you're trying to say, in opposed to becoming anxious, because a lot of times that's when we start arguing, because I'm getting loud, he's getting loud, we're both getting loud, and nobody's getting anywhere, because the misunderstanding is there and it's not dealt with. And so in opposed to us getting somewhere, we really do get somewhere. Somewhere we shouldn't be. Somewhere we shouldn't be.
Right, so, absolutely.
Yeah, we have to calm down. That's the number one thing, is to remain calm.
Absolutely, great point there. and that brings me to another point, that we should not, if your partner misunderstood what you said, we should not try to force the reception, right? Like try to force, you're trying to send the same message the same way that was misunderstood. That's like forcing the reception on your partner's end. You're like telling them you should get it, but you're sending the same message. You're trying to send the same message the same way, like the exact same way.
Yeah.
That's like trying to force the reception on your partner's end, and that will lead to just more misunderstanding and resistance and frustration, right? So don't force the reception, right? What we should do, as Karen said, calm down and resend the message, but change some of the components of the message. Whether it's the use of words, right? Our choice of words, whether it's our tone, or whether it's our body language, right? So in opposed to trying to force the reception, trying to send the message the same way, the same method, same, trying to force your partner to receive the message. Listen, change the message. Don't change the message, but change some of the components of the message, right?
And one other thing, Carrie Ann just mentioned on the live here, she said the timing is also critical.
Right.
And that's so true, because a lot of times, like you may have had a long day at work or something, and
ain't nobody got time for this.
This is when you want to talk about something that happened yesterday or last week or whatever the case is. When that person is frustrated, they are frustrated, they had a long day, so timing is really important. Like you got to choose your time wisely. I know in the past, one of the things that I used to do was, whenever we're talking about something else, and I would bring up something from the past, like, okay, so what about this time and that time that this happened, and so now we're dealing with like 4 things, because when I bring something up, then Mark bring up something too from the past. But but when that happened,
tit for tat.
So we all over the place, and a lot of times it has a lot to do with timing. That we did not choose the right time to talk about this, and so it's a lot of frustration, a lot of emotion, going on, acting up, coming out. So timing is really important, and thank you for that point. But yes, definitely.
Yeah, and some partners just respond differently at different times, and different times of the day too. You know what I'm saying? Just the longer you're together, you will learn more about each other and learn when to approach your partner with about certain issues or topics of discussion. So you will pick that up as you continue going on together over a longer period of time, right? So don't force the reception. Back it up, right? Change up some of the components of the communication of the message, whether it's the choice of words, whether it's the tone that you're using, or whether it's your your body language, right? And I think that when we do that, we will see a great difference, right? We'll see a great difference. It will avoid a whole lot of misunderstanding and frustration, and we'll see a great difference in reception by our partner of that same message. You just change it up a bit, right?
Yeah.
Just change up some parts of it, change up some of the components of it, right?
Yeah, Delia was saying that if we should ask for clarification, and if we ask for clarification, the person shouldn't get upset, and say, oh, you should know how I feel already. So that's also a good point.
Yes, absolutely. Right, and that's kind of piggyback on what we were saying earlier too.
Like, what you mean you don't understand?
Right, and we can't assume that all the time our partner will understand what we are we're saying and what we're trying, what the intent of our message is. Especially as I said, we're humans and things happen, and sometimes you have some good days, some bad days. Sometimes you're in a good mood or a bad mood. Sometimes you're a bit tired, you're sleepy, you can't be bothered, whatever the case is, right? So sometimes the message is not really perceived in the way that you intended for it to be perceived, and so we should not just assume they should know, because it just might not be one of their good moments, one of their best moments at that time to really dive into it, to really feel it out. So we shouldn't just say you should know. I think it's our responsibility. It's a responsibility on the sender and the receiver of the message, and both partners to either recommunicate what they're saying and the receiver to ask for clarification. So there's a responsibility on both partners in the whole mix of things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to dive into the other points?
Sure.
Okay. Now another point that we want to make is this: that words are spiritual seeds, right? Words are spiritual seeds, right? And we know that from the Bible that words are spiritual seeds. So wherever words are planted, they will grow, right? Wherever words are planted, they will grow. And because words are spiritual seeds, we understand that our minds and our hearts are the soil, right? So in knowing that as married couples, we believe that is so important, because words are spiritual seeds, that we learn what kind of soil our partner has, right? We need to learn, we need to take note of what kind of soil our partner has, so that we can plant or we can sow the right seeds, right? So I'll say it again: words are spiritual seeds, and we know that that the heart is the soil, right? So in a marriage relationship, what we need to do, we need to take the time to learn what kind of soil our partner has. And when we take the time and make the effort to learn what kind of soil our partner has, then it will now be our responsibility to sow the right seeds, words, into that soil, right? So we'll sow the words that will flourish, that will grow, that will be a benefit, that will be of strength, right? So we're not we are aware of the soil that they have. So it causes us to be cautious in how we sow seeds. So we don't just go around and just throw out any word. No, we just throw any words that comes to our mouth. I say whatever I want, or I say whatever I think. Well, you know what? That tells us that we're not taking the time to learn what kind of soil our partner has. Because once we learn what kind of soil our partner has, then it will cause us to be cautious in what kind of words we sow into their heart and sow into their lives, right? We'll hold ourselves responsible for the words that we're going to be sowing. We don't just throw anything out, right? It's like a good farmer, right? A good farmer will learn his soil. He will learn what soil he's working with, so he'll know what kind of seed to sow into that particular soil.
And also what kind of fertilizer to give it.
And what kind of fertilizer to give it, right? So he's going to test the soil, he's going to learn the soil, because he wants to reap the best harvest possible from that soil.
Yes.
Right? And so in order for he or she to reap the best harvest possible from that soil, he's going to take the time to learn what kind of soil he's working with. And that's the same that goes along with us married couples, we should take the time to learn what kind of soil does my wife has. You know, what kind of words, what kind of soil does she have? So when I learn what kind of soil she has, right, I'll know what kind of words I need to be sowing in that soil. Do you agree?
I agree.
Do you all agree out there in Facebook and Instagram
Yes.
land? Do you
Carrie
agree?
said real powerful. Delia said absolutely.
Okay. Yes. So that's what we're working with. We're working with words, right? We're working with words. So here's a challenge for us tonight. The challenge is we should take the time to learn the soil of our partner, right? So we can, with words of affirmation, absolutely. So we can sow the right seeds in their lives, in their hearts, in their mind, right? And don't just say whatever comes to our mouth and comes to our mind, because that can have a lasting effect on our partner. You'd be amazed of how many partners right now, how many married couples right now are still struggling with some words that were spoken to them by their partner, and I mean, it could be for years, could have done years ago, right? But they're still struggling, they're still hurting with it because they never really adjusted, right? And that is very important too. When if in a case that is done, it should be addressed, and that's all.
Yeah, definitely.
It should be addressed.
A lot of times we tend to tear down more than we build up. And that's another issue. So many times we tend to tear down more than we build up. So it's so easy to point out the wrongdoing and to point out what we don't like. But then we don't encourage as much. So we're always talking about the things that's hurting us or that's hurtful. And we're not praising our partner for doing something good. For example, they do something good, we don't compliment them, we don't praise them for it, and then whenever something is done wrong, then that's when we address it. It's kind of like just addressing the wrongdoing, but we're not complimenting when something good is being done.
Right.
So I think we need to pay attention to that as well. In our relationships, in our marriages, just pay attention to that are you criticizing more than you are complimenting? And that's important, because if you compliment and then you criticize, then it's easier for that person to receive that. But if all you're doing is criticizing and then you're not complimenting when they're doing something good, then that's a problem in itself.
Right.
And that's also a reason for them maybe receiving your message negatively.
Right.
Because you are not complimenting them. You're just talking about what it is that you don't like. All the time you're bringing up what you don't like. What about what you do like? So I think if there's a balance, then the receiver will also receive the message well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point there. That's a great point. Okay, another point I want to make is we want to make the point that, as we were talking just now, that words are spiritual seeds, and we should get to learn what soil our partner has so we can sow the right seed. So why is that so critical? Another point that we want to bring to the table, or to the ring, is that some words, let's go back to communication. Communication is the art of sending and receiving a message, right? Now, what we need to understand is that in communication, there are some words. Let me backtrack one more time. The art of sending and receiving a message. And what the experts say is, the experts say that our communication is made up of 7% words, 35% tone, and 58% body language. Now, I want you to pay attention to this, because we believe that it's important to learn the soil of our partner so we can sow the right seeds, because in communication there are some words and there are some tone and there are some body language that can become triggers, right? Can be triggers to your partner, right? So I'll say it again. There are some words used, there are some tone of voice, and sometimes there are some body language that, some type of body language that can be a trigger to your partner, and it's a trigger to an unpleasant event in their life, right? It could have been when they were younger, when they were a child, when they were a teenager, or a grown adult, whatever the case is. But it is a trigger to some kind of unpleasant memory, some kind of traumatic experience, right? And so we believe that the longer that we are together, we will get to learn what words, what tone, and what body language can be seen or perceived as triggers to our partners. That there are many times there are partners who will say, don't use that word. Why? Because it's a trigger to some kind of, as we continue going on together in the ring of married life, as we continue winning together and striving to win together, that we pay attention to these triggers and don't just overlook it. Don't just take it slight and oh, you should get over this or whatever. No, we should respect that if that is a trigger to some kind of unpleasant event or experience or memory to your partner, we should respect that, because we're in the ring together to win together, right? And if that's going to affect them, then we should do whatever we can, whatever is in our power to do, to help them we're in that particular area, right? So again, some words, some tone, some kind of body language sometimes can be a trigger to some kind of painful, unpleasant, unhealthy experience, and that's why sometimes and it's good for the partner, for each partner, if there are some triggers, it's good for each partner to share what those triggers are, right? So that when it's communicated that that word you used, it kind of pulled me back to a painful experience or whatever. If that is communicated, then now it should be the other partner's responsibility to avoid using those words, avoid using that tone, or avoid using that body language, because you don't want to trigger that kind of unpleasant memory or event or traumatic experience in your partner's life, right? Anybody get what I'm saying out there?
I'm sure they do.
If you got anything from that just now,
sure they get it.
let me see you type trigger. Just type trigger. If you got anything from what we just said about that, just type trigger.
Yeah, you gotta keep on because it's sometimes delayed.
Delayed, yeah.
It takes a while for it to see it.
But what we're really saying tonight, Winning Ring family, is that I don't think we should get to a place where we take it for granted that we should, as Karen pointed out earlier, we should be intentional about our communication.
Yes.
Right? Because when we're intentional about our communication, that means we're going to endeavor, and listen, things are going to happen, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because things are going to happen, the heat of the moment is going to happen, but the more conscious we practice and train ourselves to live in that, in the reality of winning together, I think it's going to be more beneficial, and the more we're going to grow in this particular area, right? The more conscious we become of this, right? And how do we become more conscious of it? By speaking about it,
Yes.
right? By doing the same thing what we're talking about, by communicating about it, right? But things will happen but the more we realize that, hey, I want us to be intentional about our communication. I want us to avoid any kind of hiccups as best as possible. I want us to avoid any kind of a misunderstanding, right? It's the more effective our communication is going to be, right? So again, why should we pay attention to the soil, our partner's soil? We have to be very conscious. Take the time to learn what kind of soil our partner has, because our words are spiritual seeds, and you don't just want to throw anything out, but you want to make sure. We want to make sure that we take the time to learn what kind of soil our partner has,
Yes.
so we can plant the right seeds.
Right kind of seeds.
The right kind of seeds.
And
Because,
give it the right kind of fertilizer.
uh-huh.
Oh, I think it's the internet.
Live feed ended.
We're having a little technical difficulty
On
here on Instagram.
It's alright.
But yeah. While Mark is working on that, those who are still up on Facebook here, there are some words that we shouldn't use in our marriage, and I just to name a few, like I know from experience, like a lot of times when I would talk, about something, Mark and I, that we're discussing, and I'm saying, you always do that, you always say that, so we don't want to use words like those, like always and every time, and also you never do this, you never do that, never. That's like never.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be careful with our words, okay? When we're talking about something, deal with the thing that is at hand, that you're dealing with right now. Don't say things like you're always saying that nobody is always doing anything or not doing anything, So we have to choose our words correctly.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make sure that we pay attention to the words that we're using, because sometimes, again, I said it, but that's not what I meant.
Right.
Because when I say always or every time, I really don't mean every time and always. But because I'm upset and I want to bring across my point, then I'm saying, you always do that, like I'm getting some bigger score for saying that or something,
True.
So we have to be careful, choose your words wisely. And that's why it's important, like I was saying earlier, to slow down. Don't speed up the conversation and get in the heat, slow down. Because when you slow down, then you have that moment to think on what it is that you're saying to that person. Because those words, then the other person is going to say, oh, so I never do this. Oh, so I always do that. And then you're in a... then you're in an argument. Okay?
Never.
So pay attention to those words. I just wanted to plug that in.
Well, that is plugged in real good. But yeah, that's a great point. In dealing with, opposed to dealing with the issue at hand, and these generalized statements, these broad brush painting statements, never and always, those can be triggers.
Yes.
We just spoke about triggers. That's what trigger for me. Never would have made it. But anyways,
He's like, I never did anything for you.
Never did I do that. But yeah, we just spoke about trigger, and that's a trigger for me. Like when I hear you never, I'm like, never. You know what I'm saying? Or you always, I'm like, always. So let me hear, what's some of y'all triggers out there? Let's get some of y'all triggers out there.
Karen is saying that we're not really listening sometimes, but we're thinking how we're going to respond to our partner. So it's kind of like you're opposed to listening to what you're saying.
You're thinking about your comeback. I'm thinking about my comeback, Karen. I ain't got time to... All I'm doing is thinking how I'm coming back with something bigger
Listen,
and better.
This
Right?
is this is like so true though. It is. It's like so true. It's like you can't wait for that person to end their sentence so you
You
can.
just, double dutch when you're just waiting to jump in, you're just watching the rope spinning or turning, and you just waiting to jump in. That's how we be sometimes in communication, but we're just waiting for them to like take a breath to breathe,
Yeah.
so we get jump right in with our piece, man. I'm telling you.
Yep.
But but as you said, active communication, active listening, active listening is very important, because active listening is eye contact, right? And it's our body language plays a part in that, and it's asking follow-up questions,
Yes.
right? To show that you're actually engaged in what's being said.
Amen.
So that is actually active listening, right? But the opposite of that would just be passive listening, where you're still watching Batman, and while Kieran is talking, and and I'm watching Justice League, right? And yeah, I got you, yeah, all right, you good. But that's the difference right there. So good point, Karen. But yeah, triggers. Certain words are triggers, and we got to be active in our listening. We got to be active in our communication. We got to be intentional, because that's at the end of the day, man. That's what's going to bring the great effect, the great change, and give us the results that we're looking for on both parts, right? Both sides of the relationship. Being intentional about it. What's his name? Had a song a few years ago, came out. He's intentional. Forgot his name. Green something. Whatever. Travis. Yeah, Travis Green, I think his name is. He's intentional. So that we got to be intentional. Just the same. Oh yes, I'm a comedian. Thank you very much. Talk Truth series.
Double dutch. Commenting on.
But yes, but folks, we really hope that you got something from our live session tonight. What I said is not what I meant. So I hope that tonight we can walk away with some kind of help, and some of these things we already knew these, know, but sometimes we just need to be rehashed and be reminded, so that we can our consciousness can be quickened again to it.
Sometimes it's just watering the soil. Okay.
Exactly.
Putting some water and some fertilizer
on
the soil. So sometimes that's what it is, just watering the soil. And that's what we're doing. One thing I think about when it comes on to marriage and relationship, right, is like, just think of yourself that day when you were walking down the aisle, right? You were so in love, you were happy, everybody was laughing most of the times. We know we have some arranged marriages and etc. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about true love, that you love somebody and you want to spend the rest of your life with them. And that is the reason why you got married, why you came into this relationship.
Right.
So at the end of the day, your goal was to make it work. Your goal was to live happy and, to enjoy life together. Right. That was the main goal. And if that was the main goal, and now that you're together, and things are happening, that should be a red flag to say, these are just roadblocks. These are barriers. How can we fix it? How can we detour? How can we work around these things to make us get back to the aisle experience, okay? And that's what it is, because at the end of the day, you didn't marry someone who you didn't love, or they didn't marry you because they didn't love you. You guys did love each other, or still love each other, but there are a lot of things that is clouding that relationship. And so you need to figure out how to work through those things, because at the end of the day, these are two people that came together that wanted the best for each other. So of course, on the course of life and while you're on the road, there are a lot of roadblocks, there are a lot of obstacles. And so just work through those obstacles and those roadblocks and make your marriage work. You didn't get into it just so it would fail, or get into it so you would give up, and that's why for Winning Ring, we have the gloves and the heart, because we're saying you're fighting together, not fighting each other. And so as you put your gloves on, you're fighting for your marriage, you're fighting for your relationship. That is the main purpose why we have the gloves, and then the heart, showing that we are still in love. We still love each other, but we're fighting for our unity, and we're fighting for our family. So, I just encourage you guys to keep fighting,
Yeah.
but not at each other, but fighting together.
That's
Fighting
right.
together to make your marriage, your relationship work.
Absolutely. Great points there. And one thing just came to me before we end our session. A thought just came to me. Before we got married, there might have been, a certain way that we used to communicate. Whether the way we communicated with our family or our friends, those that we used to hang with or whatever. But after we got married, we got to understand that, the way that we used to communicate before we got married is not necessarily the same way we're going to be communicated within the marriage, right? And that's why, there's going to have to be some retraining, some re-engineering as it relates to our communication, right? We don't, I think many times we come into the marriage with the misconception that, just like how I used to drop it before I got married, that's the same way, I just can come in and just speak the same way and communicate the same way and relate the same way. It doesn't work like that, for real though. So the way we used to communicate with our friends and our families, because, it is said that, the way that we communicate is mostly learned from our family that we grew up with.
Yes.
We grew up in that environment. We grew up with our family. We see how they communicated. And that's pretty much how we communicate based on what, we have experienced growing up. But when we come into a marriage relationship, I think many times we get married with the misconception that, I don't have to change anything in how I communicate or how I talk.
You have to set your own temperature, okay?
Absolutely.
For your family.
Right. So that misconception, wakes up like to a rude awakening, or gets a rude awakening once we get married, that, hey, I might used to talk like that and communicate like that and whatnot, but now I have to make some changes, right? Why? Because it's all about winning together, and for us to win together, there are going to have to be some changes on both sides, right? With both partners, so we can win together at this thing, right?
Yes.
All right. So I think that's it for tonight.
Anybody have any question or any final comment that you want to share? Please go ahead and do so. Just comment, and if you have something to say or you have a question, we're getting ready to close off.
Yep.
And thank you again for tuning in. This is like our third live for Winning Rings. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight, and trust that you will join us next time, and tell a couple friends about it too.
Yep.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Thank you. God bless you too. So yeah.
All right. Okay, we were just waiting to see if anyone had any question before we say bye. But again, thank you all, as Karen said. Thank you all for being here, spending some of your precious Friday evening, Friday night
I know.
with us. All right.
soon you all will be gone to the restaurants dating, so we have to find a different slot.
Yeah, I guess. But anyways, we like to always close out with a prayer. Thank you for the thumbs up on
Thank
Instagram.
you. Shanoy.
Shanoy Johnson, appreciate that
Yes.
thumbs up. Back at you. Okay, God bless you all. We'd like to close out with a prayer. So, you ready?
Yes.
Father, we thank you for this session that you have allowed us to share with our friends again tonight on Winning Ring. We just pray your blessings, your favor, and your grace to be upon every marriage, every relationship that is represented here.
Yes.
We thank you, Lord, for giving and supplying your grace even in the midst of this pandemic, when there are so many different factors and elements that can become a obstacle or a hindrance or a problem. But thank you, Lord, for giving wisdom. Thank you for strength. And thank you for understanding.
Yes.
Help us, oh God, to be intentional about our communication as we are in this to win together. And we thank you, Lord, that marriage is your big idea.
Yes.
So we thank you for your blessings, even now, as we commit everyone in your care. In Jesus' strong name, we say amen. Amen. God bless you.
Amen.
We love you.
Amen.
Stay strong. Keep on winning. Winning together. Have a great weekend. And we will see you live Sunday at Beyond the Walls International on our live stream. Okay?
Bye, guys. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Stay in the ring.
Stay in the ring and keep on winning.
Keep on winning in the ring. Good night.
Good night. And those who just came on, you can watch the replay. All right, if you just joined us.
Maybe on YouTube, because
You can-
I think we're going to take it down from Facebook and, but should be on YouTube.
Yes, we will be uploading our live stream videos to our YouTube channel. By the way, if you're not following us, let's say that before we go. If you're not
Yes.
following Winning Ring, please follow Winning Ring
Yes.
on our Facebook page, Winning Ring.
Yes.
We're also on Instagram, Winning Ring. We're on TikTok, Winning Ring. And we're on YouTube, Winning
Winning
Ring.
ring.
Okay, so wherever you
Right.
follow us, it's Winning Ring. Okay,
It's
so
all in the ring.
and you can also check out our website. We have some amazing stuff that's going to be happening on our website. All right, and that is
Also,
winningring.com. Okay, if you haven't been there yet, there's some awesome stuff coming at you at winningring.com. All right, good night. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you,
y'all.
Michelle. We saw that beautiful topic. We appreciate it. God
Yes.
bless you. And have a wonderful night, everybody. All right?
Bye, guys. Finished your right.